She put her hand up toward the glass and stopped, just short of touching it. She held that position until the equipment ran out.
Welcome to Displaced. I'm your host, Mara Saleh. That is Dr. Henrik Voss, the man conducting these temporal experiments that I find increasingly difficult to describe as anything other than profound. Henrik, today's file is number 8. The light was the same. Our subject spent 8 minutes surrounded by objects from her own time, in a room she had absolutely no reason to expect and no framework to explain.
Nefertari, female, Egyptian, 29 years old, a skilled weaver from a mid-tier household in Memphis. Approximately 1280 BC, the reign of Ramesses II. Egypt at the full height of its new kingdom power.
And where did she arrive?
The Egyptian Museum in Cairo. Present day, late morning. The New Kingdom Gallery specifically. 8 minutes.
Of all the places in the world she could have landed, she landed in a room full of her own era.
The displacement coordinates are not random, but I will admit this one had a quality I did not anticipate. She walked into that gallery, and within perhaps 20 seconds, her entire posture changed. Something released in her. The disorientation was still there. The noise of the city outside, the lighting, the sheer foreignness of the building itself. But the objects in that room cut through all of it immediately.
What did she recognize?
Not her objects specifically. She was not royalty, not a temple worker, but the style, the period, the specific aesthetic vocabulary of her own time. She saw a faience collar behind glass, and I watched her identify how it was made. Not consciously. There was no moment of deduction. She simply knew. The way you know the handwriting of someone you grew up with.
Professional recognition.
Deeper than professional. She was a weaver. The material world of her era was something she understood in her hands as much as in her eyes. She saw a canopic jar and understood what it held and why the lid was carved that particular way. She saw linen fragments and knew exactly what grade of flax produced that weave. These were not curiosities to her. They were Tuesday.
That sounds almost comforting.
For the first 3 minutes, I think it was. She was moving her gaze across those surfaces the way you run your fingers across something you love. There was genuine warmth in it, a kind of gratitude almost. Here in this impossible place, something familiar.
And then it changed.
She began to understand the posture of the room. That is the phrase I keep returning to. The posture of it. Objects behind barriers, lit from above, separated from the people moving past them by glass and metal rails. She couldn't read the labels. The script was completely incomprehensible, but she could read what it meant that these things were here, in this configuration.
What did it mean?
They were grave goods, temple objects, things made to accompany the dead, or to stand before gods in consecrated spaces. Things whose entire purpose was to be used in a specific way, in a specific context, with a specific understanding of what they were. And instead, they were clean and lit and still, and people were walking past them, reading small cards.
Not praying.
Not mourning. Not even particularly slowing down. And then she watched a tourist photograph a ushabti, a small figurine placed with the dead to serve them in the afterlife, and smile at the camera with it visible behind her, using it as scenery.
What did that do to her?
This is the part of this case I find most worth examining. She was not angry. I expected anger, or something adjacent to it. What I observed was considerably more complicated. She was experiencing something that does not have a clean name. The specific feeling of watching something sacred be appreciated incorrectly. Not disrespected, not destroyed. Appreciated, with genuine interest, genuine care, in a way that had nothing to do with what it actually was.
That distinction matters to you.
It mattered to her. They clearly valued these objects. They found them worth preserving, worth traveling to see, worth putting behind glass and lighting carefully. They simply had no way of knowing what they were holding. She made things like this. She knew what they cost, in material, in labor, in the specific human intention behind each object. And she was watching them loved in a language she could not speak and could not teach.
Could not teach because she had no way to communicate.
Could not teach because even if she had shared a language with everyone in that room, what she knew about those objects was not information. It was experience. It was the weight of a particular kind of clay. The specific tension in a loom when the thread count is right. The smell of the workshop on a Tuesday morning. None of that fits on a small card beside a display case.
Where was she when the 8 minutes ended?
Standing in front of a linen fragment, preserved, mounted on backing material, lit from behind. It was approximately 3,200 years old. It was linen she would have known how to make. She put her hand up toward the glass and stopped just short of touching it. That was where the equipment found her. She returned with her hand still raised.
She almost touched it.
She stopped herself. Whether that was instinct, not touching things behind glass, or something more deliberate, I cannot say with certainty. But she held the position, hand raised, not quite reaching.
What happened to Nefertari afterward?
No record survives of her specifically. She was not a person the historical record was designed to preserve, not royalty, not a priestess, not a figure of administrative power. But the linen she spent her life making, fabric from workshops exactly like the one she worked in, is held in 17 museum collections across the world. Still intact, still identifiable for what it is. She was right that it would last. She could not have known how far.
The work survived. She didn't.
The work almost never does survive with the person attached to it. That is true of most things most people make. It is simply more visible when the gap is 3,000 years.
Henrik, was this right? She experienced something genuinely beautiful in those first minutes. Recognition, familiarity, something that must have felt like an unexpected gift in the middle of an impossible situation. And then that gift curdled into something much harder. Did you have the right to put her through that arc?
I have thought about this case more than most, precisely because of that arc. The beauty was real. The difficulty that followed was real. I do not think one cancels the other. What I keep returning to is something smaller. In 8 minutes in that gallery, she treated those objects with more reverence than most of the visitors that room sees in an entire year. She understood them. She grieved for the gap between what they were and how they were being held. That grief was a form of respect that the museum itself, for all its care, cannot quite replicate.
That's a generous way to look at it.
It is also accurate. Whether accurate and generous are sufficient justification for what we did to her, I leave that as an open question. I have not closed it.
Something tells me you don't close many of them.
Closed questions stop producing useful information. I prefer to leave them open and uncomfortable. It is better for the work. Whether it is better for me is a separate matter. The saddest kind of loss is when what you loved survives. But the meaning doesn't come with it.